Welcome to the Modern Classrooms Project podcast. Each week, we bring you discussions with educators on how they use blended, self-paced, and mastery-based learning to better serve their students. We believe teachers learn best from each other, so this is our way of lifting up the voices of leaders and innovators in our community. This is the Modern Classrooms Project podcast.
Hey y'all, it's Tony Rose Deanna and they them pronouns, a designated hype person here at MCP, and I am so ecstatic to be joined by an educator and instructional leader with 27 years of experience who has taught math to students in 7th grade all the way up to AP Calculus. So Veronica Hebard works at Mayflower in Arkansas as the math lady, centering on instructional planning that focuses on practical strategies that respect teachers' time and expertise. Again, I'm so excited to be here with the math lady. Welcome, Veronica.
Thank you. It is a big deal for someone to want to completely change their instruction from, we've used IM for 6 years, but she didn't feel like it was enough. So then I got this random email from my assistant superintendent saying, hey, I've got this person from Modern Classroom that has this great idea. Can you look at it? I was like, sure, whatever. Yeah, send it over. No big deal. Fine, something else to do. And I got about 15 minutes into reading the material and I was like, holy smokes, this is exactly what Allison wants to do. And somebody's just landing this on my plate. And so I dug in some more. I talked with, I don't know who I spoke with first. I think Sophia was maybe there and your big guy there. Kareem. I had a Zoom with Kareem and he was telling me all about it. And I was asking questions, I'm scribbling notes down on this paper as fast as I can. And after all of that, I finally went to Allison. I said, Allison, let me tell you what was just thrown at me. And you tell me if this is what your idea was. And I told her about the structure of MCP. And she says, oh my gosh, Veronica, that's exactly what I want to do. Can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it? And I was thought, yes, even if we just do it 4th grade, we will do this. But it turned out that I was getting a new 5th grade teacher, a new 7th grade teacher, and a new Algebra 1 teacher all at the same time. And because we're singletons, I only have one 4th grade teacher, one 5th grade teacher. So it was a great time for me to say, you know what? We're all going to learn this together. We're going to do it all at the same time. Because initially I thought we'll start with 4th grade, we'll roll to 5th grade. But instead, we just jumped in 2 feet. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and Algebra 1 all at the same time. So that's how we ended up here. And this has probably been some of the best partnership work. And you're not paying me to say this, so I'm saying it anyways. The partnership that we've had with Modern Classroom has been the best partnership with any type of vendor or anything like that. So it has been, wow, it's mind-boggling at the support that I have, even though you're asking me or telling me that, oh, you've done all of this, you've done all of that. Really, it's simply because of all the support that we get from MCP.
You were just kind of like, okay, yeah, cool, let's do it. Was that the kind of conversation that you and Allison had of okay, let's look at data. And also I'm listening to you, I'm hearing you, and now we're going to do this thing together. How did that come about for you?
Well, it came about because she and I have had a conversation. This is her 3rd or 4th year. I don't remember at this point. And she was from a different state. She came here to Arkansas by herself, no parents, no nothing. She just had this. She said, this is where I needed to be. And so through our conversations, and she was questioning whether or not she wanted to stay in education. I mean, it had gotten to that point. She didn't know if she could keep doing this unless something changed, because it affected her when a kid fell through the cracks and she just couldn't handle it. And I said, we'll find a way to do this. We'll make this happen. And the difference from her in March or actually before that, of not wanting to teach anymore, to March of having a flicker of hope, to being recorded by your folks at MCP, and this wonderful video came about. she's a completely different teacher. I mean, she was one of the nominees for Teacher of the Year. So, yeah, she had a life-changing, this has been life-changing for her. MCP has been. Our administrators went through the training this summer with Kim, and it was enlightening for them because we had used illustrative mathematics for like 6 years. So they knew the structure of IM and how it went. And then we have this structure of MCP where, they still have teaching moments of whole group. But then when they get to this self-paced area, that's the piece that I had to show my administrators, like, hey, there's still learning going on. The kids aren't just doing willy-nilly. They've got all of these things that they either must do or aspire to do. And you can ask a kid at any time, like, hey, what are you working on right now? And they're going to be able to tell you with their tracker exactly what they're working on. So it does look a little different and it sounds a little different. But the sounds are now about mathematics. It's not about, what happened on the playground or what happened in the lunchroom. Like today, when we were, again, back at our 4th grade, even at high school, that they're talking about math. They're talking about, hey, did you get this? This is the strategy that I used. So it has really shifted ownership from the teacher being the knower of all and the giver of knowledge to now the students are relying on each other. They're relying on the videos. The videos are fantastic that MCP has put out. They're great because the kids can watch them over and over and over at any time. So when our administrators go in, I encourage them to go in during the middle 30 minutes because that's when they get to see all of this going on. So that was the question that we had forever. We would have kids that would be absent 3 or 4 days in a row, and we're on a 4-day work week. So we only go to school Tuesday through Friday. So if a kid misses 3 or 4 days, they've missed an entire week of school for us. So now what happens if we have a kid that has been absent or works at a slower pace during that block of time where it's student-centered? Our teachers are able to go and sit with a group of kids and pull them to the side and say, hey, what can we do to get caught up? So for them, they might not use the video because she's there teaching right beside them, or he is teaching right beside them. Coach Bowden is really good about that, as well as our other teachers. He was also on that video. And I think at the very beginning of the video, you'll hear him say, hey, don't worry about it. We'll get you caught up. So, they're all really good about it. And knowing that they have that tracker right there, the kids have their tracker, you can instantly see which kids need to go in which groups. Our Algebra 1 teacher does a really good thing. Her seating is fluid. Like, she doesn't have assigned seating because every day when they come in, there's a sticky note on the table that says, you all are going to this group right here because you're on this lesson, and we need to make sure that you're all aware of what's going on in this lesson and how to move forward. So having that time in the middle of class to be able to meet the kids where they are has been phenomenal.
Now, another thing that you did share with us is that a resource, and it's 4 questions that impact student learning. Tell us more about that. And again, y'all, we're going to put this in the show notes so you have access to it.
So prior to working here at Mayflower, I was the math specialist for the entire state of Arkansas. So that was my job. That's what I did for many years. And anytime that I did a training, everybody always asked, well, how do you keep kids engaged? Well, it's easy. You ask them questions. And if you ask them questions, kids have to respond to you. I mean, they feel the need to respond. So the 4 questions is why. I mean, if you have a 2-year-old, you know how annoying that question can be. So you ask that question of kids, why? How do you know? Can you explain? And my favorite is, do you agree or disagree? Kids like to argue with each other. So if you ask that question alone, it's getting them talking more about the mathematics. And the more that kids are talking, math, science, social studies, whatever it may be, the less time that they have to be bored, to cause problems, any of that. So these questions came from a book called Accessible Mathematics, and quick little read, good book, really good book. I think 3 of the 4 came from that. And what we have done is we have put those 4 questions on like a colored sheet of paper, and we just have it on the board. So when we as teachers feel we don't know what question to ask next, because that's a very difficult thing to plan for, they can go to those 4 questions. Why? How do you know? Can you explain? Do you agree or disagree? And when they do that, student engagement goes up, random talking discipline goes down. But it also gives formative data. So it's 2 birds, 1 stone. You're keeping them engaged and you're collecting formative data.
Yeah, and that's the power of modeling, right? Like when they see their teacher doing it, then they're like, oh, wait, I could do it too. And then hopefully they can also use those skills outside of the classroom, right? Like when they're implementing or even doing math in real life, right? Like, hey, why? Another thing too that I wanted to note is that when students are talking, right? Like when there's that talking piece, they're processing their learning. And like you, I can't say this enough, but if my students can talk about it, can get someone to understand what they're learning, they have mastered that concept, right? Like the talking piece is so important. And I know sometimes too that teachers will be like, well, it's post-COVID, my students don't really like to talk. They don't want to talk to each other. How do you respond to that, Veronica?
Kids like to talk. They don't like to talk to adults, but kids like to talk. If you've gone into a classroom lately, kids like to talk. And we basically keep them from talking, that because we want the quiet, we want this, we want that. So my favorite thing in addition to those things right there is, hey, turn and talk to your neighbor. Make them talk when they don't want to talk. Turn and talk to your neighbors. You get 30 seconds, you get 30 seconds. And that tiny little turn and talk is a really powerful thing for them to do. And then I don't want you to tell me what you're saying. I want you to tell me what your partner said. So they have to actively listen. And we have to actually train kids to do that. They just want to talk, but they don't want to listen. So again, asking the question, holding them accountable, it all just goes together in that nice tiny little bow on it. If I can see it happening and I have the results in front of me, then wow, I can do this. And building their confidence, I don't know if I would have ever gotten to that point by myself of being their cheerleader and saying, yes, you're doing a great job. But now I have outsiders. It's almost like, Veronica, you have to say that because you're my coach or, you're my specialist. But now that I have these other people that are saying, wow, I'm doing a good job. Wow, I was videoed. Wow, you're bringing, people from different schools here to see me. It has just changed so much. It has made us feel like, wow, we're a tiny little school, but we're making a big difference.
Thank you so much for listening. Listeners, remember you can always email us at podcast@modernclassrooms.org, and you can find the links to topics and tools we discussed, as well as more info on this week's announcements and events, in the show notes for this episode at podcast.modernclassrooms.org. We'll have this episode's recap and transcript uploaded to the Modern Classrooms blog on Friday, so be sure to check there or check back in the show notes for this episode if you'd like to access those. And if you enjoy our podcast and it's been helpful in supporting you to create a blended, self-paced, mastery-based learning environment, we would love if you could leave a review. That does help other folks find our podcast. And of course, you can always learn the essentials of our model, if you want to go beyond the podcast, through our free course at learn.modernclassrooms.org. And you can follow us on social media at ModernClassProj. That's PROJ. We are so appreciative of all the hard work you do for students and schools. Have a great week, and we'll be back next Sunday with another episode of the Modern Classrooms Project podcast.